Misiorowski. Misiorowski. It's pronounced Misiorowski. Okay, I think I got it now.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter, or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. And I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. But the best way to get a hold of me is right here on the YouTube page. And you can just leave comments there. And if you're going to be posting stuff on social media, make sure to use that hashtag #EverydaySully. It helps us find those comments out there. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Well, I am back in America, as I mentioned before, and I am here at the Willie Mays Field in Atherton, California, named after, obviously, Willie Mays, and this was the town that Willie Mays lived in for the remaining years of his life. And I've done some podcasts here before, and I'm going to be doing some shows up here in the Bay Area for the next few weeks, and I don't have my studio set up yet. So I decided, instead of just having me do it in the kitchen, why don't I go out to a ballpark? And this one was available. I think someone's taking grounders back there. Misiorowski, the pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers. Man, oh man, you cannot start your career out any better than he has. He pitched 5 no-hit innings in his first appearance. That was about a week or so ago. He owned baseball that day. Thank you very much. And you also saw that he came out in the game on Friday when Milwaukee took on the Minnesota Twins, and he threw 6 perfect innings to start the day, which meant his first 11 innings as a pitcher in the major leagues, Misiorowski didn't let up a single hit. I mean, you can't start off your career better than that. That is astonishing. And for a team like the Milwaukee Brewers, this is just what the doctor ordered. You know, we talked about it before, that it's unfair that this big market team signs this and this big market team signs that. Yeah, that could be true, but kind of like Jurassic Park, life finds a way of evening some things out. Remember, Sasaki and Blake Snell were the 2 signings that Los Angeles made that were so unfair that people thought, they're just buying another championship. Well, those 2 guys are on the shelf right now. And a team like Milwaukee can reach into their minor league system and pull out someone who, for the first 2 games of his career at least, looks like a freaking ace. The funny thing about that game, it turned out to be kind of a weird slugfest by the end, but Milwaukee had jumped out to such a huge lead that it didn't really matter by the end. And Milwaukee, by the way, keep note of this, Milwaukee has climbed back into a playoff spot. They are on the proverbial summer score right now because they have played very well. They've won some big games. They've won games when they need to win it. And San Diego's been on a little bit of a slide. And for the first time since putting together the summer score that starts on Memorial Day, San Diego and their fans are not going to have a perfect summer. They fell out of the summer score for this morning. Now, they could jump right back in it today, and if a bounce here or bounce there happened in the Los Angeles series, they would have won that series, but they didn't. And bounces here and bounces there are sometimes the difference between a year that you remember and a year that's totally forgotten. And the Milwaukee Brewers have thrown some elbows, and they are now a playoff team right now. And it is not April. It is not May. It's late June. It's going to be the longest day of the year. That's why I figured I might as well be out in the sun. And so we're at this point where we're about 2 weeks away from the midway point of the season. And for a team like Milwaukee to dust themselves off and to get themselves back into it means that, you know what, in 10 days we'll be in July, which is that stretch run to the trade deadline. And for a team like Milwaukee, they have to take a good long look in the mirror. They have discovered they had an ace in their farm system that they brought up. They've climbed back into the playoff chase, as have the St. Louis Cardinals, by the way. Mason Wynn and company wound up winning the game the other day. And the Brewers and the St. Louis Cardinals are tied for that final wild card spot in the National League, pushing the Padres to the side. And you can say, well, the Padres are better than that. They're just having a bad week. And you may be right. And maybe San Francisco will fall to the wayside as they're playing the Boston Red Sox. The Sox won the first game yesterday in this bizarre world where, as someone, myself, a native New Englander, grew up rooting for the Red Sox, yada, 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 and I'm rooting against Rafael Devers and against someone named Yastrzemski. That's weird. But the Giants are a good team, but they're not necessarily a juggernaut. The Padres are showing they're flawed. If you're the Milwaukee Brewers and you've stumbled across an ace and you're playing better than you were just a month or so ago, this is that time where you have to give some real serious thought of, are we going to go for it? Are we going to make a run? Are we going to say, well, to hell with our prospects, to hell with our future? We have a chance to do something right here, and did I mention right now? The Brewers, lest we forget, won their division the last bunch of years. They've been a consistent playoff team, but they haven't really advanced or done piddly-poo in October. But you don't know when things are all going to click. It could be not fair that the Dodgers get this and the Phillies get that and the Mets got the other thing and the Cubs did this. But one bad week in October can steamroll all of that. A couple of years ago, it was beyond question that the two best teams in the National League were the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Atlanta Braves. So naturally, the league championship series were the Philadelphia Phillies versus the San Diego Padres. The year after that, you saw the Arizona Diamondbacks make the World Series. You saw the Washington Nationals as a wild card team win the World Series back in 2019. These things happen. A good week in October can suddenly open up the door for someone. Conversely, a bad week can make life really tough. Look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers are not the best, they are not the juggernaut that I think people thought they were. They're very, very good. They're very, very good. However, they still have holes in their pitching staff. They had holes last year, remember? The Padres nearly eliminated them in the opening round. Or I guess the opening round is now the wild card round. Things are weird. For Milwaukee, you got to take a good long look in the mirror and say, we've been a playoff team and we've had bad luck. We've been a playoff team and we've lost key games. Last year, if Pete Alonso doesn't hit that home run, do the Brewers favor well against the Philadelphia Phillies? The things broke the wrong way against Atlanta in 2021. That was a very good team. And they had a real shot to go to the World Series. What about this team? It's getting to the point where you got more than half the season in front of you, but you only have about a month and 2 weeks to make this decision. Take a good long look in the mirror and see how this turns out. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is the highest protein nut you're going to find. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better-for-you unsaturated fats to help keep you feel fuller longer. Now, I have a favorite. I like them out of the shell. Why? I got a busy schedule. I can't schedule in taking pistachios out of their shell. I like them lightly roasted, and I like them lightly salted. I'm that kind of a guy. But some of you like them in shell. Some of you like them out of shell. Each satisfying crack opening the shell for some of you, it's like snack meditation. But Wonderful Pistachio is a complete protein providing all 9 essential amino acids. And whether you're running between meetings, teaching a class, or heading to the ballpark, Wonderful Pistachios are the snack that works as hard as you do. Get cracking and get snackin' with a snack that packs a protein punch. Easy for you to say. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Now, of course, there's more than half the season in front of us. So it's 162 games, has ebbs and it has flows. It's like the tide. And I've been watching baseball since Jimmy Carter was president. And I understand there are points where, even the best teams have massive slumps. Even the worst teams have a stretch where they play pretty well. Look at the Colorado Rockies have gone on a couple of stretches recently where they won a few games in a row, where I guarantee you they were playing teams that put a circle around a Colorado Rockies series thinking, all right, here's 3 easy wins, at least 2. It happens. 162 games. The best teams in baseball are going to lose, 55 games, and the worst teams in baseball are going to win 55 games. It's those middle 100 some odd that determine whether or not you're a great team or not. That being said, it is interesting what's happening to the 2 New York teams. Just about a week or so ago, the Yankees looked really strong. They looked like they were pitching. They looked like they were about to add Stanton to the lineup that was going to give their team another dimension. They were going to get Goldschmidt back. A lot of the players who had been sidelined and were coming back, and the Trent Grishams and the Ben Rices who had been carrying the water, and had both of those players had good streaks, and both of them slowed down because they're players they're not superstars, and so you were seeing that the Grishams and the Stantons and all of them were coming back to the Yankees, and they were facing a stretch of games where they were going to be playing the Red Sox and they were going to be playing the Angels, they're going to be playing the Orioles. So if you're a Yankee fan, you're probably thinking, hey, we're going to be at full strength, and lo and behold, we have some decent wins coming up for us. I paused because a train just went by. That's the perils of doing a show on location. Well, when you see Baltimore and Boston and the Angels coming up in your schedule, and you're a team like the Yankees who are trying to pad a massive lead, you start thinking things like, all right, we are going to be trying to maybe put a whole week between us and the closest competition heading into late June. Well, what happened? They lost both series to Boston. They lost the series to the Angels. They lost 3 out of 4 to the Angels. And they wound up losing the first game to Baltimore. They have to win the next 2 games to not have another series that they lost. And lo and behold, Tampa Bay figured out how to win. Did you see that game that happened earlier this week where Tampa Bay was down 8-0? 8-0 after 2 innings. I think it was the second or the third inning. Baltimore was up 8-0. And Tampa Bay scored 12 unanswered runs. This Rays team has pulled to within a game and a half of first place. Not a wild card spot, of first place. And guess what? Toronto is not that far behind. And for that matter, neither is Boston. Tampa Bay is the one that is the most intriguing for me, because if they make the postseason, and part of me really, really wants them to, that will mean Major League Baseball will have to figure out what the hell they're going to do, because the Rays are playing in a minor league ballpark because everyone was dragging their freaking heels over the years trying to figure out what to do with a new ballpark in Tampa Bay. By the way, one of the spots that would have been a great spot for a Major League Baseball stadium in Ybor City has been taken over by an MLS team. What is it with MLS teams taking over these spots? Like there's like at the Loop in Chicago and in Ybor City in Tampa Bay. Make them multi-purpose stadiums. Work out a deal. Have it be a soccer/baseball stadium. I digress. If baseball is going to look up and say, oh my God, we have to play a playoff game in Steinbrenner Field, can they clean up the Trop fast enough? Are they going to have to play in Miami? I love chaos. But for the Yankees, this is the stretch of games that if you're a Yankee fan, you better hope doesn't come back to haunt you. That if the Yankees are in a situation where they're fighting for a playoff spot or fighting for a playoff position, The difference between having that, missing the wild card series and having to play a best of three, suddenly you're facing elimination. That's a huge difference. And everyone focuses on what happens down the stretch. But these games here, these are series they should win. 4 games at home against the Angels, should win that series. The Yankees are better than the Red Sox, but you want to know what playing head-to-head? The Yankees are better than Baltimore, but they have to win out just to win this series. 162 games doesn't mean you have to win every game, but it means you got to win the series against teams that you're better than. That's the winning a title means you win the series against the teams you're better than, and you hold your own against the best teams. And dropping series like this could come back to haunt the Yankees. Now, they could turn things around. There's a ton of talent on this Yankee team. And the American League does not have a super team. The Tigers, who are the best team in the American League right now, they lost to Tampa the other day. Is Tampa a super team right now? You say Kikuchi pitched well for the Astros the other day, but they lost the other day. There's no overwhelming juggernaut team in the American League right now. So the Yankees are probably going to be a playoff team no matter what. But you got to win this series. You got to win the series that you're supposed to win. Which brings us to the other New York team, which are the Mets. Now, I say this all the time, and I mean it. There's no wrong time to win 7 games in a row, and there's no right time to lose 7 games in a row. And the Mets have just lost 7 in a row. And they have ceded first place to Philadelphia. The Phillies were what, 4 some odd games back of the Mets. Now they're in first place by themselves. And the Mets losing the first game head to head to Philadelphia. They have to win out to win this series. And they're having a hard time winning anything. And these games against Philadelphia, I know they don't mean more in terms of the physical, the tally of a win or a loss. But they do mean more. They do mean more because, A, it's your chief division rival. And if you beat them, that's a win for you and a loss for them. But also, remember those head-to-head matchups have a lot to do with the seeding of a playoff team. If Arizona had just won 1 game along the way last year, they would have made the playoffs. But they didn't. And the team that had a better record than the one that went to the World Series were playing golf, while the Atlanta Braves and the New York Mets, who had identical records to them, got to play postseason games. And so these games matter. And the difference for the Mets for their team to not have to play a best of 3 series. Now, in the end, it didn't matter last year because they got to Game 6 of the NLCS, but it took some big dramatic games against Philadelphia to be able to do that. You don't want to look up and say, why are we playing a wild card series? Oh, because remember back in June, we couldn't win for an entire week. Again, it's the ebbs and flows of a season, and the Mets were a team that I didn't pick to go to the playoffs this year because I didn't trust their pitching staff. And their pitching staff, up until this point, have proven me wrong. But now the cracks are starting to show. And everyone's like, oh, it's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair that, these big market teams sign these big players. Well, what is fair? Playing 162 games and seeing where the team falls after that. And if we get to September, there are going to be dramatic games down the stretch. But don't forget that stretch in June. Don't you forget that stretch in June where the Mets couldn't win a game. Because if the seeding doesn't fall in the Mets' favor, this may have been where it happened. Hey, guess what tomorrow is? Game 7 of the NBA Finals. It's all on the line. There's tons of drama. It could even be more exciting with FanDuel. Now, let me tell you something. There's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Now, take a look at, is it going to be Halliburton's night? Is he going to have his Willis Reed moment, his Paul Pierce moment, or will OKC finally win the title that fans have been waiting to see since they moved from Seattle? Now, let me tell you something. You get that same game parlay, you can combine live props, and you get 200 bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet, wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, which is the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I have a favor to ask Major League Baseball, and it has to do with uniforms. I understand the idea of City Connect uniforms. I really do, and I'm not Mr. Grump. These are not the uniforms I want. Tradition. No, I get it. I mean, I hate the camo uniforms because I think I think they look tacky. I think they are tacky, and they're bad camouflage because they got camo tops and white bottoms. That's terrible camouflage. But the City Connects uniforms, that's fun. I mean, it's just putting on a different uniform. The green Red Sox City Connects, I prefer the ones that are the blue and yellow. It's weird that Rafael Devers' first game as a San Francisco Giant, he was wearing weird City Connect uniforms. But there's a bunch of games. I understand they're trying to sell some shirts, and it's fun. It's fun. I get it. But we need to keep a few things in mind. One thing mainly in mind is to make sure there's some coordination between what the two teams are wearing in terms of their uniforms. I remember about, I don't remember what year it was. It was certainly before COVID. There was a game between the Angels and the Rangers. Now, the Rangers have different uniform combinations. They have blue tops. And now they have powder blue tops. At the time, they had blue tops, white bottoms, red bottoms, red hat, this, that. And the Angels had red top, white bottoms, red top, gray bottoms, white top, white bottom, gray top, gray bottoms. Well, the Rangers that day wore their red uniforms, a red hat, and white pants. The Angels wore red uniform, red hat, gray pants. And I remember turning on that game, and I couldn't tell who was who. You had to look and say, wait, is that white or a slight gray? And the uniforms have a purpose beyond just selling things at the gift shop. They're there so when you watch the game, you know who the hell is playing. And so in that particular game, I flipped it on. I'm like, who's up? What's happening? What's happening right now? Now, a thing happened in yesterday's game where Misiorowski, the pitcher for the Brewers, who I think I mispronounced his name, so I just said it quickly. I was paying attention to the Giants-Red Sox game. I was at my mother-in-law's house watching the Giants-Red Sox game. She's a Giant fan. I'm a Red Sox fan. What are you going to do? Most of the time I root for the Giants, not this time. But I checked my phone and I saw, oh my God, there's a perfect game going on in the Minnesota versus Milwaukee game. And I had my phone and I went to the MLB app and I wanted to see, was the Milwaukee pitcher still throwing a perfect game? And I saw the pitcher on the mound who was wearing a blue uniform with yellow trim, and there were two runners on base and a run in. And I thought, like, oh, the perfect game is over. But my phone still said perfect game. And I wondered what the hell is going on here. And then I realized that the Minnesota Twins were wearing City Connect uniforms that looked like Milwaukee Brewers uniforms. And the Milwaukee Brewers were wearing, normal gray uniforms. But on the first glance of the game, I thought the Twins were the Brewers. And it took a while for me to figure that out. And what I'm asking is this. If you are the Twins and you're playing the Brewers, don't wear Brewers colors, especially if those are not the colors you normally wear. Because the uniforms are there, especially for people who flip onto the game, to have an idea of who the hell is up. And it's better to do at first glance. Basketball is the worst at this. For my entire life, white or light colored jerseys were the home teams, grays or dark colored jerseys were the road teams. And I wound up watching a playoff game with the Celtics playing someone, I don't remember who they were, and half the time I was rooting for the wrong team because I thought, well, I'm at the Boston Garden and the team with the white jersey is clearly the Celtics. Oh, wait, they're not. But if you are busting out the City Connect jerseys, make sure they don't look like the normal jerseys for the other team, because some of us are just logging in. And the key is to say, who's pitching? Who's up? Who's there? Now, I eventually figured it out. Why? I have 2 master's degrees. I eventually figured it out. But it shouldn't be a moment where like, wait a minute. Wait, what? I thought it was a perfect game. What's happening here? It's coordination. It's like the scene in Boomerang. Coordinate. That was a deep cut I just did there, my Boomerang reference right there. But look, we got a full slate of games. We're going to see if Milwaukee can continue to climb up the ladder. We're going to see if Tampa Bay can continue to put in a potential nightmare situation for baseball and clinch a playoff spot in a minor league stadium. We're going to see what happens with the Red Sox and Giants. I may even swing up and catch that game. And we're going to see if any New York team can figure out how to win. I want to thank you for making Locked On MLB your first listen today. For your second listen, stay here on the Locked On MLB channel and check out Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis at a national scale. Find MLB Game Night, Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Talking. And I found this baseball here. Some little leaguer cleared the wall. Talking at the Willie Mays Field about the Brewers needed to make some decisions. How good are they? The Yankees and Mets got to start winning games, otherwise this may haunt them in September. And please, 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 coordinate these uniforms better, because I don't want to have to take context clues to figure out who the hell is pitching. This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.